Professor PLO Lumumba points out, and I quote, he said, France sees Traore as a bad example, somebody they cannot control.
You know, when Traore came to power, and let us retrace the history again, that he came to power after Compaoré had been removed and had sought asylum outside of the country, I think in La Côte d'Ivoire. He came to power after Jean-Marc Christian Kabore's administration had been taken away. He came to power after Damiba had been taken away. And when he came and he appeared to be relieving and reviving what I call the Sankaraist philosophy, he became an immediate enemy of Paris, led by Macron. And Macron, you see, has carried himself almost as the latter-day Napoleon Bonaparte. To the extent that he has done so, anybody who is not towing the line, Macron, I think, sees himself, and this is subject to debate, not only as Napoleon Bonaparte, but also as Charles de Gaulle. And in that regard, he believes that the territories which were colonized by them must behave. Remember in 1958, after the yes-no vote, in which case only Secretary of Guinea voted no, they used to refer to former French colonies as territoire de haute mer. These are our foreign territories in the distant land. So when you break loose, as Burkina did, says, what is happening here? Who do they think they are? Do they think they can withstand France? So it is personal anger. It is ego that has been hurt, and that can be dangerous. Hence, the reaction that you see from Paris. In other words, from the standpoint of Paris, Ibrahim Traoré and his compatriots are giving a bad example to otherwise good boys and girls. When you look at Traoré and Burkina Faso now, I think there are four categories of people when you look at how they are dealing with the Traoré. There is category number one of leaders who are wedded to their colonizers, who think, oh, this young man, we've seen many like him, he's just...
That's it. So this is what this video is about this week. We're going to talk about how Ibrahim Traoré is viewed within the African continent. We will also talk about how Ibrahim Traoré is being viewed outside the continent as well. So it's very clear from what PLO Lumumba has said is people want, especially the colonizers, it's very common for the colonizers, as we've seen in the case of France, that would want to continue to take a grip of the people or the former colonies for the benefit of their own gain. Very first important point that Professor PLO Lumumba points out there is, and I quote from what he's just said, he said, France sees Traore as a bad example, somebody they cannot control. And clearly they've lost the control, because what Ibrahim Traoré has done is he's expelled the French troops, he's taken hold of the mines, he's definitely put up a very clear statement that the French people are no longer welcome in Burkina Faso. So as we know, all these former colonies have been sending what is known as a colonial tax. So this is something that has and will continue to put France in a very awkward position. And that is why there will always be issues to do with how they would want to get back at him. So that's the first category, is about how the colonizers view Ibrahim Traoré and how this is becoming dangerous, not just for the regime, but for the local people as well. And then we've got the second group, which are the envious African leaders that are questioning themselves. Why Ibrahim Traoré? Why not us? Why not me? So they are wondering why Ibrahim Traoré continues to get the spotlight. So we've seen from Kenyan political figures such as the Senate Majority Leader Musalia Mudavadi.
My friends, let me tell you, when somebody has got a gun on his waist, don't be cheated. A civilian government elected by the people is better than any military government. Hata ikiwa ina dosari, a civilian government is better any day. Serikali ya raia ni afadhali kushinda serikali yoyote ambayo inaongozwa na mtu ambaye ameweka bunduki hapa. Kwa hivyo tusidanganyike kama Wakenya. Mnajua kitu kinaitwa artificial intelligence, AI. Na mimi nazungumza haya kwa sababu nataka wale wanapenda mtandao muelewe. Wanachukua yule mtu ambaye anabeba bunduki hapa, wanaweka artificial voice ya artificial intelligence, ati huyo mtu anaongeza Kiingereza kisanifu nini. My friend, it's artificial intelligence. Yeye hazumuzi, they don't converse in English, they converse in French. But conveniently, wanamuweka kwamba anatoa story in very fluent English. It is artificial intelligence. Kuhadaa vijana wetu wafikiri kwamba hapo ndio kuna uongozi. Hakuna uongozi pale. Hiyo ni military government. It is a military government. It is not a civilian government. A civilian government mtapata nafasi 2027 to make a decision in a civilian government.
So the envious African leaders, we've seen this play out recently in Kenya. We've seen the Kenya political figures, particularly the Senate Majority Leader Musalia Mudavadi. I don't mean to call out names here, but this is the man that put himself on the spotlight to rebuke or to expose Ibrahim Traoré and start accusing him of the fact that the reason why Ibrahim Traoré is popular, the reason why he's getting a lot of traction and a lot of attention is because of AI. People are getting his pictures, his videos, and putting voices and whatever it is and purporting to be Ibrahim Traoré when he's not really him. So it's as if AI now has become such a bad thing because of the fact that it has made one leader gain traction in political matters over others. So if, in my opinion, what I would say is if AI is being used for somebody like Ibrahim to gain traction and to make him and put him in a positive light, what is stopping you, African leaders, to use the same AI to put you guys in the spotlight? So clearly, this is not just about AI, okay? So AI shouldn't be seen to be such a bad thing because it's being used in the positive light. This, to me, echoes a lot of envy, jealousness. It's being masked with a lot of discomfort with somebody like Ibrahim Traoré, who's taken genuine leadership and he's taken the lead in his own country and is benefiting the country in so many ways. So in Kenya, we've seen this as well. We're going back to Kenya because Kenya, the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of unrest. We've seen a lot of issues going on in Kenya where a young journalist was killed for speaking the truth, basically for representing the people. And it was a very sad state of affairs to see how a young man was killed in those widespread protests. These are the very same people that are trying to label Ibrahim Traoré as somebody who is having competitive advantage, if you like, in terms of using AI. But in the very own country, these are the leaders in Kenya that preach democracy but suppress dissent brutally, where we've seen a young man, a young blogger, a young journalist being killed in Kenya. And which is not right. And then when you look on the other hand, we can clearly see what this democracy represents in Kenya, and it's not a good sight to see. So you wonder which is better. Ibrahim Traoré, who is really supporting his own people, he's never once hurt his own people. This is a man that is doing everything possible to support his people, to provide for his people, to make sure that there is development in his own country. In fact, if anything, it's the people, not just the local people. We've got the insurgents, which is the next point that we're going to talk about, but it's the people that have always been trying to hurt Ibrahim Traoré, that has gone through multiple assassination attempts in his own country. So point number 3, we've just heard about the leaders who fear Ibrahim Traoré. So Professor Lumumba clearly says some leaders fear Traoré because he holds a mirror to their own failures. So they fear what Traoré represents because he's really set the bar very high. And, they're obviously fearing what their own armies might start thinking about. Recently, we've seen the president, Mr. Paul Biya, who is 92 years old. This man is a man that has been in power for more than 30 years. I think, is it 30 or 40 years? He's been in power for more than 40 years. And there are reports that this man often goes to France. He probably lives in France. And when it comes to the time of being elected, he goes back to France and puts one or two things together in the hope that he gets put back in power. But this is where this man, obviously the likes of Mr. Paul Biya, easily fits into category 2, where these leaders, it is such leaders that fear, they fear what Ibrahim Traoré represents, because it's like what Ibrahim Traoré has done is that he's opened people's eyes. Ibrahim Traoré is now there. He's opened people's eyes, and people are now awake in Africa. All these gold mining companies, I don't think they're happy to see what Ibrahim Traoré is doing, to see what he represents, and the steps that he's taken to shake up the gold trade industry, to shake up how all these things are happening. So I think it's a very important step that we've seen, and that is why we, the local people, we, the ordinary people of the African citizens, if you like, we've come up and we're saying, listen, we like what you represent, Mr. Ibrahim Traoré. And then the fourth group of leaders, where we've got the genuine supporters of Ibrahim Traoré. So only a few leaders support Traoré. They see him as the beginning of a Pan-African renewal, like Ghana's John Mahama, traveling to Dakar, traveling to Bamako, traveling to Niamey to engage with the youth movements. Now, this is a very important move, a move of solidarity, a move that shows not only support. These leaders understand that that support is not just transactional. That support is transformational. Reputation, because there are a lot of leaders currently that may not want to be associated or to be seen with Ibrahim Traoré just because of how they might be perceived by the West. And then we've got us, the people. We are the genuine supporters of Ibrahim Traoré. And I think this is the main, never mind the African leaders that are supporting Ibrahim Traoré. I think the one thing that is doing a lot of people's heads, a lot of leaders' head, the colonizers, the African leaders, is that we, the people, not the Burkina Faso people, we, the people, I particularly from Zambia, or any other person from Zimbabwe, from Ghana, from Nigeria, from you name it, Tanzania, all these people, they've come together to support a man that they've just recently heard of. And I think this is what is doing their heads. They can't just quite get what is really happening. What is happening? Why is this man gaining a lot of traction? What has he done that we cannot do? And I think this is the biggest issue. So now let's listen to the fifth point, which is the colonizers
Burkina Faso,
counter.
Those are the four forces that are operating within the African continent. Then there is a fifth force from outside of the continent. This is France. These young people are making us to lose our spheres of influence. They think they are going to make something to work in Burkina Faso. We will not allow it. What we are going to do is to cause and support insurgency so that if there is no total breakdown of law and order in those countries, then there will be a civil war. And I can tell you, they are doing everything in their power, covertly and overtly, to undermine those administrations. And I have no doubt in my mind that on a daily basis, they have individuals in their intelligence community asking, how can we eliminate him? Can we eliminate him by poisoning his toothpaste like we tried before with other people? What do we use? On a daily basis, they are planning.
So when General Langley came up with that statement, it was very clear what the possible intentions of the United States might be. And this resulted in global protests. There were protests all over Africa. There were protests in the EU. There were protests in America. And I think that sent a very strong solidarity message, not just to the United States, but it also sent a very strong direct message to Burkina Faso itself to say, listen, we are there for you. We are supporting you. Will you please continue with what you're doing? You're doing a good job. And there's no better way to feel encouraged when you've got the whole world, when you've got the whole energy system surrounding you and the whole energy system supporting you in that sense. Africa has long needed such kind of a leader who will take the African by the grip and shake up all these issues for these colonial tax that, if you look at it, that these countries have been sending all the way to France, making millions and millions and billions of monies on top of. Ibrahim Traoré came to power in 2022, and it's very clear that this is a man that has taken hold of almost every sector of his economy, from agricultural, education, mining, you name it, national development, the roads and everything else. And you wonder, we really thank all these leaders, particularly those leaders in the Sahel states currently that are holding the place together and are sending a message to the world to say we are here for our own people. We are here to make sure that people are given the right support, and that whatever natural resources that are there in the country, those must be used for the benefit of the people. Because currently Africa is so rich in gold, it's so rich in minerals, it's rich in natural resources, and yet part of those riches do not even go to the local people, which is quite a shame. So to see these three Sahel states, that have come out of the ECOWAS and they are making wonders within the Sahel states and coming up with a unified passport, a single passport within the Sahel states, this is something that has to be promoted. So thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you in the next video.